Good morning. We're going to talk about elapsed time today, which really is just the amount of time between two events. So I'm going to show you 4 different ways that you can figure out elapsed time. My job is to show you these different strategies. Your job then is to pick which one works best for you. So I picked a couple of things from my days this week, things that have happened that I kept track of time. And now we're going to figure out the elapsed time, or the amount of time between the start of that event and the end of that event. The time in between, the time that is elapsed in between. So the first one I want to show you is called a Tchart, and I'm going to do it up here. I split my paper into 4 boxes, so I can do one strategy in each box, and you can pick your favorite. So the first one I'm doing is a Tchart, and this one is for bedtime routine. When I start bedtime routine with my son, when we eat, and then we get a bottle, and then we do our books and our bath, and then we do bedtime. By the time he gets all settled in his crib, it's 9:05 p.m. So 5 minutes after 9, and we started at about 7:20. It ends up being quite a long routine for us because we kind of take our time, we have good family time, and then sometimes he struggles to fall asleep. So sometimes it's a little bit earlier. This week, though, the time that I kept track of, it was this. So I'm going to put this down here just so that we can, kind of remind ourselves what our time is. So with a Tchart, I've got my trusty pencil. I'm going to draw a chart, a Tchart. It looks literally like a T. Ta-da! This side is the time, and this side, these are the hours and minutes. And I'm abbreviating hours and minutes right now, just to make it easier on myself. So this strategy, I'm going to write it over here. This is a Tchart. Boop, boop. Boom. So now the time that I'm going to put down, this is going to be my start time. And my start time was 7:20. I don't really need to worry about PM right now because I'm trying to figure out the amount of time from the beginning to the end of my my event. So I don't really need to know AM or PM. Now, I've got my start time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out the amount of minutes until the next hour. So I've got 20 minutes here. How many more minutes do I need to get until 8 o'clock? Because I want to get to the next hour because I can jump by hours really easily. So how many minutes would it be to 8 o'clock? Well, let's see. 20, and I know that there are 60 minutes in an hour. So I'm going to count by tens. 20, let's see, 30, 40, 50, 60. 4 tens that I just counted. So this is 4 tens, that's 40. So this would be 40 minutes. So I'm going to mark it down over here. I jumped 40 minutes. Now I'm going to jump from 8 o'clock to my 9 o'clock time. Jumping hours is really easy. So now I've jumped to 9 o'clock. That was 1 hour. Notice how I'm labeling these so I remind myself this isn't 40 hours, Mrs. Heva. It's 40 minutes. Now I've got 5 minutes left to get to 9:05. So I'm going to write 9:05. That's my end time, and I jumped 5 minutes. Now I just have to add these up, and I'm going to start with my hours first. I had 1 hour, so I'm going to cross it out to remind myself I counted it. 1 hour, and how many minutes? 40 plus 5, that's 45 minutes. Our bedtime routine the other night took 1 hour and 45 minutes. So this is the Tchart strategy. Okay, you start with your time, and then you go all the way to your end time, and every time you jump, you have to write down how many minutes or hours that you jumped over here, and then you add them all up. Okay? The next strategy that we're going to use is going to be a number line. Number line. And I'll show you how to do it. I don't write the whole time like I've showed you before in another meeting. I actually just write the times that I need. So this is for a meeting that I had the other day. One that I have a lot, and it started at 10 a.m. That's when we jumped on Zoom, and we finished at 11:45, just in time for lunch. So I've got my times here. It started at 10 a.m. and it ended at 11:45, and I'm going to draw my number line. So I'm not going to put my end yet just because I like to be able to extend it if I need to. So my start time here, this is start, kind of like a race. I'm starting at 10 a.m. And now I'm just going to write down my hours here, I think. Let's see. So I've got 10 a.m. and then I know that now I'm going to write my end because I feel confident this is long enough. This is 11:45. This is when it ends. I'm not really going to worry about the AMs because I'm worrying about my time between the start and the finish. So I'm not going to worry about it. Now, my job here is to jump hours and then minutes. And you're going to do big, giant jumps and then little baby jumps. I'll show you what I mean. I know that the next hour after 10 is 11. I'm going to write 11 here. So this is a big jump. Now, this is 1 hour that I jumped. Now I need to get from 11 to 11:45. So now I can put in my time. So this is going to be, I'm going to jump, let's see. What's the next number that I know after 11? Well, I know 11:40. That's 40 minutes. So I'm going to do a little jump here. That's 40 minutes. And now I have a little bit further to jump to get to 11:45. I have 5 minutes left. So I'm going to jump my 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Now I can add them up. My meeting was 1 hour. I always add my hours first. And then I'm adding my minutes. Just because that seems to be helpful for me. My meeting was 1 hour and 45 minutes long. So this is a number line. You're really just doing big jumps and little jumps, and you get to kind of come up with the intervals that make sense in your brain, which is nice. Maybe your friend really likes to count by 5, so they'd have a lot of little jumps of 5 minutes. And maybe you were like, oh, Mrs. Heffa, the minute I got to 11, I was like, oh, and then 45 minutes, 1 hour and 45 minutes, done. Maybe that's how it works for you. So the cool thing is, whatever strategy you like and the way that works the best for you, that's what you get to use for your brain. That's the cool part about math. Now, another strategy that I have for you is actually using a clock. And I have another meeting here. And this meeting that I had, I jumped on Zoom at 1:30 p.m. and it finished at 2:57 p.m., just before 3 o'clock. So this strategy, we're actually going to use a clock face. A clock face, that just means that we're actually using this face here. Draw my circle, 12, 6, 3, and 9. And then I'm going to draw my little numbers here. Let's see. This is 1, 2, 3. This is 4, 5, 6. And this is 7, 8, 9. This is 10, 11. And then I'm back to 12. Okay. There's my clock face. I drew really fast. Now, I started at 1:30. Okay. Now I'm going to jump around. Now, this is really tricky because I don't really have a clock where I can count the hours and minutes with the little hands on it like we would use in class. So you're going to kind of have to stick with me on this one. So I know that from 1:30, so I've got my hour hand here, my long hand here. I'm going to draw it faint so I can erase it. If I go from 1:30 and then I go all the way around again, I can go all the way to 2:30. That's 1 whole hour. Does 2:30 go past 2:57? No, I haven't gotten there yet. So from 1:30 to 2:30, I went all the way around my clock. That was 1 whole hour. Now I'm at 2:30 and I need to get to 2:57. Let me mark that down so you can see it. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 56, 57. So 2:57 is going to be right here. This is my end time. That's where I'm trying to get to. So now I can do my counting like we did before when we were counting time to the minute. So I can jump 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Here's 25 minutes, and I'm going to write it down so I don't forget. And now I need to jump those 2 little tick marks. 1, 2, and there's 2 minutes. So now I can kind of add these up. I had 1 hour, and then I had to count 25 minutes plus 2 more minutes. That's 27 minutes. So my meeting was 1 hour and 27 minutes. So this strategy works really well if you have a little clock in front of you. It can be a little bit harder when you just have your drawing. So I kind of adapted it for you when you don't have that little clock. But again, it's just a strategy. And if it's not your favorite, don't use it. Okay, here we go. Last one. And this one is called a Z diagram. We just call it the Z. This is the Z. And it's basically just another number line for you when you're figuring out your time. So I'm going to draw my Z really quick just so you can see what I mean. It literally looks like a Z here. Boom, there's my Z. Now, this one is for math. This was when I was working on math worksheets and math videos. I started working them at 9:15 at night, and then I finished at about 11:40 at night. So I have my time here, and actually I'll put it down here so you can see. There's my time. Started at 9:15, ended at 11:40 for all my math stuff that I was working on. When we're doing a Z diagram, we put our start time here at the beginning, 9:15, and we put our end time over here, 11:40. Now, the first thing that I need to do is I need to jump up to the next hour. The next hour after 9 is 10 o'clock. It has to be the next hour. Now I have to figure out how many minutes passed between 9:15 and 10. Well, let's see. If I start at 15 and I count by 5s, I wonder if my clock would help me out. Let me grab my clock from before. Even though I did color my quarters on it, I bet I can still use it to help me out. I was at 9:15 or a quarter past 9, and I need to get to 10 o'clock. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. 45 minutes passed between those. So I'm going to write 45 minutes. Now, from this hour, I need to count up to the next hour. How many hours do I need to go? Well, I'm just trying to get to 11 o'clock, so I only need to jump 1 hour. So I'm going to write 1 hour. I only had to jump from 10 to 11. If math, I finished at like 2:40 instead, then I'd have to jump a couple of hours. It wouldn't just be 1. Now, I've gone from 10 to 11. Now, the last jump I need to do is from 11 to 11:40. So how many minutes do I need to jump? Well, 11:40. I need to go 40 minutes to make it 11:40. Now, I just have to go back through and add up. Now, here's the tricky part. My minutes are going to add up more than an hour. So, just like regrouping with subtraction, I'm going to have to regroup my minutes into an hour. So, I've got 45 minutes, and let's see, 45 is here, and then 50, 55, 60. So, 15 more minutes will make a whole hour. So, I'm going to take 15 minutes from this guy. Let's see, and I'll do my math over here just so you can see. 40 minus 15. Okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to borrow from this guy here. 10, 5, and 3, 1, 2. So if I add 15 minutes from here, that would make this a whole hour, and that would turn this into just 25 minutes. Now I've got 2 hours. Ooh, I'm writing all over the place. This is good math when you know you're writing all over. And 25 minutes. That's how long I was working on things. So you have to be careful because sometimes your minutes, when you add them together, you'll have more than 60, and there's 60 minutes in an hour, so then you have to change them over to the hours. Now, there are two elapsed times problems. You may choose which strategy works for you, the Z, the number line, the T-chart, the clock face, whichever one you want. I'm not going to choose for you. You get to make that choice. There are two problems. This is one of the trickiest things that we learn this year. Elapsed time can be really tricky and it can get you stuck. So just remember, we're definitely going to come back to this and review before the end of the year. So if you're stuck, don't worry about it. This was a pretty long math video, so you only have two problems to do, and that's probably about your math time for the day. So if your parents are okay with it, that's about your 20 minutes of math time, and you won't have to practice math facts today. All right, guys, stick with it. A little bit of perseverance. You can do it. Pick your favorite strategy and go for it. Remember, our brain actually grows more, those little dendrites, we learned this, when we make those mistakes than if we just got everything right. All right, kiddos, see you next time.